making babka. So what is babka? Well, babka is a yeasted sweet bread. So kind of very similar to a brioche, hence why we put brioche in the name of this video. So basically a brioche is an enriched dough which usually has a lot of eggs, but of course we are making it vegan today, and I'm going to show you how to do that quick and simply with some really unique products today. We're also making a little bit of a spin on this recipe. So we are making babka. Traditionally it is filled with chocolate, but we are doing a little bit of an inspiration using some local ingredients here in Greece, including pistachios, oranges, some cloves, and some sesame seeds. So I have just pulled out some from the oven, folks. We are going to garnish this at the end of the video, but this is a little sneak peek of what you are going to be making with me today. So I'm going to pop this onto my trolley so we can let it cool down a little bit because it's piping hot. So let's get into it. If you're watching live, please say hello. Let me know where you are coming in from. So let's bring you down here. We're going to talk about it. We're going to start mixing our dough. Let's get our mixer out. So we are making a brioche dough today. Brioche being, as I mentioned before, an enriched dough. So it has a lot of butter, a lot of eggs, but of course we are making it vegan. We are not using eggs today. We are using panis egg. So panis egg is one of our egg replacers, which have been developed here at the school. It's like your one-stop shop of vegan egg replacers. So it replaces all 8 major functions of eggs. So unlike your chia seeds, your applesauce, and a lot of these common ingredients that we use in the vegan world to replace eggs, this is not just going to bind or give you moisture, it's also going to emulsify, it's going to foam, it's going to keep your bread a lot softer and moister for a longer time, make it freeze-thaw stable, lots of fun stuff. So I've already prepared my panis egg today, and we were replacing lots of eggs in this recipe. So general rule of thumb, with panis egg you can replace up to 5 eggs, which is really, really handy. So what we're going to do is start combining all of our wet ingredients into our bowl here. So we have our panis egg, which is being prepared, and basically you just mix it with water. For every 5 grams or 2 teaspoons of panis egg, you mix 3 tablespoons of water to replace 1 egg, okay? Then we have some plant milk here. And I also put in a little bit of glucose syrup. Now, glucose syrup is fantastic for sweet yeasted breads. It's going to help extend the shelf life and make them even softer. So I put that in. It is optional, but I do really like to add that in. So let's give this a bit of a mix. And of course, it wouldn't be a yeasted bread without yeast. So we're going to get our yeast in. I'm using fresh yeast today, but you can use any type of yeast that you like. You can use dry yeast or fresh, whatever you have access to. And folks, if you are looking for the recipe, you can find it in the description box there. All the information is there. I'm just going to give this a bit of a mix. Now, one of the unique ingredients that we're also going to be putting, or parts to this recipe, is we are using a poolish. So basically a poolish is a pre-fermented dough. So the day before you create your poolish, mix your flour, your water, yeast and salt together, and you just leave that onto your bench overnight, and then you add that to your bread. So I'm going to go grab my poolish now. We're going to get that as well. So let's get our poolish. And you will notice the next day, I'm not going to show you how to make it because it's just you mix everything together. You don't need to knead it or anything, so it should be nice and bubbly. And what the poolish is going to do is add more flavour to your yeasted breads, and it's also going to increase the elasticity, so it makes it easier to roll it out and stretch it without it tearing, okay? So I'm going to be adding this in as well to my bowl. So babka is enjoyed in countries like Russia and Poland and Israel. So if I've got any folks watching from those countries, or you're watching this pre-recorded, give me a high five, let me know. I'd love you to try this recipe and give me your opinion, because I haven't been to those countries yet. So, you know, I think it's always nice to get like a professional opinion. All right, so we've got our Polish in there. Okay. Now, we're going to start adding our dry ingredients. We have some white sugar. We have some cloves, as I mentioned, because I do want to create this as a little bit more of a local inspired dish. Here in Greece, they use a lot of cloves and cinnamon spices, so I wanted to pop that in. So yeah, we're doing a little bit of a fusion here. And then I have my flour, so this is a combination of bread flour and all-purpose flour, or you can alternatively use the full flour weight in brioche flour if you're in European countries where you can get brioche flour, okay? So we're going to pop that in. And we have some vanilla, very common in brioche, especially the sweet kind, because you can get sweet brioche and you can also get savory. All right, so we've got that in. Now, something that's in season here right now is oranges. I think this might be the biggest orange I've ever seen. So we're going to put some orange zest into our bowl here. Usually I'd say like a whole orange, but I think that maybe like half of this orange will be fine. It's so big. And this is going to give some beautiful aromatic flavors. A couple of weeks ago on the channel, we made cinnamon rolls. No, not cinnamon rolls, rather hot cross buns. And that had lots of orange zest and lemon zest. Breads with citrus zest in it, so refreshing. Okay, I think that's enough. Now, brioche dough is usually a particular color because of the eggs. Well, of course, it's usually yellow, but because we're making this vegan, our panisserie doesn't have the yellow color in it, just for giving you guys more flexibility where you want to use it. So you can add, if you would like, a little bit of vegan food coloring. And I just add like a tiny, tiny bit, just to give it a little bit more of like an egg yellow color. So when you cut into it, like no one's going to tell the difference that it's a vegan version. You don't even have to tell anyone. All right, so we're going to get this on our mixer here. So I'll bring you folks down. There we go. And I haven't put my salt in yet. I like to kind of just get all this mixed up together first. All right, so let's get that mixed. And we'll pull our salt out to use in a second. So traditionally babka would be made into a loaf pan, and it's platted with these beautiful chocolate swirls all. But today we're actually going to be making them as like little single serves, which I think is really fantastic, especially if you folks out there have cafes or food service. So you can just have that one piece as opposed to having to slice a loaf. I think this is a really nice addition. So instead of making like a chocolate spread or buying a chocolate spread on Nutella, because Nutella's not vegan, but something that I found here in our local grocery store was this tahini spread, which is chocolate. And it's completely vegan. It's just tahini, oil, some sugar, and cocoa powder. So I'm using this today, but at home you can use any type of chocolate spread that you have, whether it's like a vegan Nutella alternative, or you can get something like this, or just a simple chocolate one. So yeah, it's totally up to you. All right, so our dough has just come together, guys. As you can see. So once it kind of just starts coming into a ball like this, you can increase the speed onto speed 2. And we're just going to knead this for a couple of minutes, and then I'm going to add my salt in. Okay? Now, brioche dough wouldn't be a brioche without a ton of butter, but of course we're not using traditional butter, we are using vegan margarine. And a little hack for you guys is if you want to, you can use a butter aroma. I might just get it just so I can show you. So we get a butter aroma. This is a company from France that we get the butter aromas from. So if you guys are interested in where to find butter aroma, it's kind of like if you're used to using vanilla essence, this is butter essence, okay? And it's going to make your pastries taste more buttery. So general rule of thumb, I usually put like a couple of drops per 100 grams or something. So I'm going to put like maybe 4 drops or so with my margarine. Did you know, for all my French viewers out there, this is always a fun conversation when I have French students in my classes, when we talk about margarine. And I ask them, do they know where margarine was invented? And they're like, I don't know, was it America or something? Well, actually, margarine was invented in France. Believe it or not, their butter was so popular they were exporting it all around the world, and they weren't left with any butter for their local people. So a chemist invented margarine. So yeah, margarine is from France. So if you ever have someone saying, oh, that is not French because it doesn't have butter, and then you can say to them, well, it has something else that the French invented. So anyway, that's always a fun one to talk about. Oh, we have someone watching from Israel. Oh, fantastic. Well, you have to make this recipe for me then, and you have to give me your honest feedback and let me know, because I have not been to Israel to try the local babka there. Okay, so our dough has been mixing for a couple of minutes. Now I'm going to add my salt, okay? We're going to add our salt in. Get that all mixed in. Now, with your margarine, we're going to start, you need to make sure that when you use it, it's like squidgy, like it's room temperature and it's soft. Don't use it hard out of the refrigerator. If you're like me and always forget to leave it out overnight to get soft like this, just put it in a heat-safe bowl in the microwave 5 seconds at a time and just kind of test it to see whether it's ready. Don't do more than 5 seconds at a time because you don't want to melt it, you just want to get it soft. All right, so we're going to start adding our butter into our dough right now. And you want to do it kind of like 1 cube at a time. If you find it's starting to get really difficult to use the hook attachment, you can exchange it for the paddle attachment, or also known as the leaf attachment, okay? So you just use what works best for you. All right, so it's starting to incorporate now, so we're going to add the rest of our butter, margarine, which has got our butter aroma that I put in it. Yeah, that's a total game changer. If you make croissants which are vegan, get yourself some butter aroma. Let me know in the comments if you want to know where to find it. I'll be happy to share. Sharing is caring on this channel. That's why we do all these free classes with you guys. But if you love what we do here at Vegan Gastronomy and you want to learn more, have a more comprehensive, informative course, we have lots of different courses online, from vegan cuisine, so that's your vegan chef, and then we have also the vegan cheese. We do an entire course just on baking, so yeasted breads, cakes, things like that. And then we do an entire course just on pastry, so that's like all your French pastries and all the fancy stuff. So yeah, I'd love to have you join us online. Or when you can come in person, we are now situated on the beautiful island of Naxos in Greece. Just Google Naxos, Greece, and you'll see all the photos. You'll fall in love with it. It's just stunning here. All right, everyone's kind of getting ready for the summer now, to open up for summer. So fingers crossed that happens. Love to see you folks come visit us. We're literally like 5 minutes walk from the beach to school here, so it's very tempting. All right, so our butter, we're still putting our cubes of butter in. And we do one more. Alrighty. So, I'm just going to scrape down my bowl just to make sure everything's going to get incorporated really well. So I like to take my bowl completely off the mixer. Get yourself one of these dough scrapers. They cost nothing. If you get it on like eBay or something, you can get them really cheap if they don't sell them where you are. And then you just want to scrape down, because they're nice and rigid, it gives you a lot more control. Okay. Get all that margarine in there. Don't want to waste any of it. All right, let's get this back on the mixer. Alrighty, so back onto speed 2. You don't ever want to mix your brioche doughs on too high a speed, because if you bring that temperature up too high, then you start melting the butter, margarine in our case. Alright, so let's set that aside. So, we are going to let that do its thing and mix. We want it to become this really smooth, elastic, stretchy dough. And when it's done, it should be done before the end of this video, so I can show you exactly the texture that you're looking for. But in the essence of time, we're going to speed through. I'm going to show you the next steps. So once this comes, once this has got your 75% gluten development, and we will go over, I'll show you that. That needs to be proofed for about 90 minutes on the bench, or if you have a proofer, information in the recipe for you guys. And then after this stage, it needs to be spread out, rolled out, put on a tray, and then stick it in the freezer for like 30, 40 minutes until it gets firm. It's just going to be much easier to work with. So I've already done that part, and I'm going to jump to that step now. I'm going to go grab my dough from the fridge. So let's go get it. Okay, so I have my dough from the fridge. This is actually half my dough, because I already showed you at the beginning of this lesson that I already made 6 babkas, and this recipe makes 12. So so I didn't have to make like so many. Okay, so our dough's looking good. We're just going to keep an eye on it. Oh, Demary's saying hello. Oh, Yasmin's saying hello. Hi, Yasmin. Hi. She's one of my students in the pastry class right now. She's from the UK. She's been making macarons right now. So they look very good, so congratulations. All right, we're gonna set that dough aside while we do this. So I'll bring you folks down so you can see me. If the mixer becomes a little bit noisy, you just let me know, and I will talk a little bit louder. Okay. So as I mentioned, this is half of my dough. I'm just going to flour my bench because I don't want it to stick, and flour the other side. I'm going to get my rolling pin out. Now I want to kind of make this fairly thin to start off with, because it just makes my job a lot easier later on. Get a bit more flour down. So I'm going to start off with making it about 1/2 centimetre or about 4 to 5 millimetres in thickness. And we're looking for like a rectangle. I can tell it's a little bit thicker on this side, so I'm going to kind of bring that into the centre. Just peeking on my other dough. It's nice, and this is nice and chilled. You can actually see all the little flecks of the orange zest in there and the cloves as well. And always very important when you're working with your dough, you want to always be moving it around so you know that it's not sticking, okay? So I always like to kind of just lift it up. Sometimes I'll flip it over, so you just know. Okay, so we've got a nice thin rectangle right now. How's our dough looking? I'm just going to show you our dough, guys, so you can kind of, can you see that? Anyway, I hope you can see it. It's starting to come together now, so it shouldn't be too much longer. There we are. All right, so we have our chocolate paste, and we're going to start spreading this all over. So, just using a spatula, and I'm just kind of putting a little bit everywhere for now. But I always say working with chocolate makes you a cleaner chef in the kitchen because you have to always be thinking about it. So this is half, I'm using half this jar. So I already used half of it this morning to make our other babkas that you saw at the beginning of the video. And this stuff, like, I don't know, if you can get this where you are, if you have a local Greek market, or where you are, maybe in Israel they also have it too, because they have a lot of sesame seeds there as well. It's so good. I could just eat this out of the jar, it's so yummy. Okay, we're going to try and get as much as we can out, and the rest can be morning tea. All right. So I've got my little offset spatula here. And I'm just going to use that to spread this out. I'm going to go like almost all the way to the edge, but not quite like not quite all the way. It's like so satisfying spreading it out. Okay, so if you were making traditional babka for the loaf, you would roll it up this way and then cut it down the center and then like twist it. But because we're making the knots, we're actually kind of laminating it. So we're going to be folding this 1/3. Okay, just take off any excess flour, and then this side we're going to match up with the other side. So that's it, we've folded that up. Now, I'm gonna get this onto a tray, and we're gonna pop this into the freezer. I'll just put a little bit more flour on so it doesn't stick. We're just gonna put this in the freezer while we make our topping, just so it cools a little bit and it gets a little bit more firm. Just kind of pressing it down a bit. All right, so I'm gonna just pop this in the freezer, my little freezer here. Oh, put it in the big freezer. Okay, so now that's in the freezer, we're gonna make like the streusel topping. So as you can see on these babkas, can you see how it's got like a crumble topping? So we're actually gonna be making this. And the reason that I did that was, I don't know if you know, but today is coffee cake day. And I didn't want to do a traditional coffee cake because we did one like a few weeks back, but I thought, why not make babka? Because babka is something that you can enjoy with a coffee. And often coffee cake has the crumble or the streusel on top. How's our dough going? I think the dough is done. So I'm going to show you guys. Let's have a look at it. You know when it's done because it starts lifting off the bottom of the bowl. See how smooth it is? I'm just getting my scraper, just scraping it down, scraping it off. And it's the perfect color. This is the color that it should be, okay? You can do a little test. If you grab some of your dough, if you can create a window without it breaking. You don't want it to be a too tight a window, but yeah, if you can create a window without it breaking, then you know it is ready. So all I'm gonna do now is I'm just gonna take it quickly out of my bowl, and I'm just gonna put a little bit of oil in my bowl. Just a little bit of veggie oil. So just put a little bit of oil in there, just roll it around. And then I like to grab my dough and then just kind of tuck it under itself so you get like a nice ball, like so. And then just kind of roll it around in the oil. But look how smooth and beautiful that dough is. Yep. Put a lid on there or cling wrap or a tea towel. And then as I mentioned earlier, just set that aside for about 90 minutes. Okay? So now we're going to be making the streusel topping. So what I have in my bowl here, kind of traditional combination, but then we've also added some other flavorings, which is some local ingredients. So I have some flour, sugar, butter, margarine of course, pinch of salt, and then to give it a little bit more pizzazz, and we're making it chocolate, so there's some cocoa powder in there, some sesame seeds, which I toasted earlier. These are amazing when you use this, it gives so much flavor, and some of these beautiful pistachios. So you want to just mix all your dry ingredients together. And this is something that you can prepare while your dough is proofing, yeah? And you just want to start rubbing your butter, or margarine in our case, vegan butter, into those dry ingredients. You're just kind of like rubbing it together to create this streusel topping. You could use this recipe like to put on like stewed fruits or something. This would be amazing. Or like you can use it on top of like your oatmeal or yogurt. So yeah, let me know what you think about this this topping. It's so tasty with those toasted sesame seeds. You can just bake it off on a tray if you're not going to use it for your babkas or if you've got leftovers. And it's a good way to use up some things that you have in the house. You know, you can use, like if you've got some leftover, some different nuts and stuff like that, you can chop them up and add those. And the demerara sugar, which is that, it's like a thicker grain of sugar. It gives a really nice crunchy texture as well. That's why I like to use it for this one. And it's a little, because it has a little bit of molasses in it, it has kind of like some caramel or toffee undertones as well. Okay, well, we have our crumble here. So there you go, guys. So I'm just going to wipe my hands off. So that is the crumble. Now what you want to do with the streusel or crumble is you want to pop that into the freezer, because if you use it directly from frozen, it's going to be super, super crispy. And it has a much, much better texture, okay? So I'm going to pop this into the freezer, or you can even put it in the fridge, that's fine. You just want it really nice and chilled, okay? So now that we have that done, we can finish off. I'm going to show you how to shape the buns, okay? So we're going to finish off rolling that dough out. If you have at home, if you have a little bit more time, I would recommend to leave it in the freezer for more like 30 minutes if you can, just to get it a little bit firmer. So I'm going to go grab that now and quickly rinse off my hands. All right. So we have our dough. So I have the dough from the freezer. So it's a little bit cooler, which is good. And we're going to get some flour on our bench again so it doesn't stick. Now the length is important. We want the length to be 27 centimeters, but then we want to make the width, like the thickness of it, about 6 millimeters. And you can use these rolling guides if you like. I find that they can come in handy. So there we go. So the length I think is already there. Yeah. So I need to stretch it out this way. You can start with your hands. It is quite a soft dough. And just remember, guys, like always keep on moving your dough. You don't want it to stick. And as I mentioned, I kind of like to flip it every so often. Get a bit more flour down. All right, so I'm happy with that, that's fine. Now we're going to start cutting these into lengths. So we need to do it into 6 equal pieces. So how I like to do that is I like to first start off with dividing it into 3 and then divide those 2 pieces. So when we have 6, just find it easier that way. So 3, like that. Okay? And then we can divide these ones in 2. Okay, and then this one. Then we have 6 pieces. Okay? Now, at this stage, you just want to leave them there. Don't try and move them because otherwise you just end up getting chocolate everywhere. So, next thing we want to do is, I have my tray here. I'm going to put it at the front so you guys can see. There we go. So we want to take our piece of dough. You can stretch it a little bit. Just kind of keep it in its position, and I'm going to turn this one way and then the other side the other way. So you're doing like alternating, okay? And then you'll be able to see those ribbons of chocolate. All right, so once you have that done, you can do the next one. Okay, same thing. Twisting, twisting. Okay, again. And we just continue. You see like all the chocolate? Yeah, it looks pretty, huh? Kind of reminds me of like candy canes. See, that dough's really nice and stretchy. All right, so we have our 6 ropes of dough. Now this is the part that you want to pay attention to. I'm going to show you how to make the knots now. So you want to take your dough and you want to wrap it around your hand. And you can keep, if you want to twist it a little more, you can. So wrap it around twice and then over and then under, okay? Like so. Put that one there. So you see that? Yeah. So it's 1, 2, and then you want to kind of wrap it over. This one I was able to wrap over twice. Okay. So 1, 2, and then wrap it over itself. So you can wrap it over. You can wrap it just once or twice if your dough is stretched nice and long like that. Okay. Let's do the other ones. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that one just went over one time. There we go. I'll do this one. And if it unravels a little bit, you can always just twist it back up again. Okay. There we have it. So these guys are going to proof now for about 90 minutes or until they're almost doubled in size. So once they're proofed, you want to make the glaze that is in the recipe. It's just a combination of sugar and plant milk. Very, very easy. And then you want to just brush that glaze over your buns. Oh my God, look, chocolate everywhere. So you want to glaze that over your buns and then put your crumble on top just before you bake it. So the crumble just gets put on just before you bake it, folks. So I'm going to pop these into my proofer now for 90 minutes. That's how long it was last time. But again, depending on the temperature in your room, the size of your buns, that might be adjusted a little bit. So just keep an eye on it. Just go have a check on it in like an hour or something. All right, so these are the ones that we prepared earlier. So I'm going to show you how to garnish them, like some little tips of things that you guys can do. So, because we have some really lovely flavors of the orange in there and the pistachios, I went ahead and I made some candied oranges last week, and these store for quite a while in the fridge. Okay, so that's just orange peels, and I just made like a sugar syrup, and then I just cooked them in the sugar syrup. Okay. So we're going to add some of those for some color. And I think that this makes it look really special when you have them on your counter. And then when you bite into it, you get kind of like, it's a little bit zesty, a little bit sweet. These ones I didn't make too sweet. I know sometimes they can be a bit sickly sweet, and because they're candied, they're sticky, so they're going to stick. Okay, and then we have those beautiful pistachios. So we're going to put some of that on there too, just for some color. But as I mentioned, you can do whatever you have locally. You can make this like total local bun. Okay? So let's bring you folks up here so we can have a good look together. Got some nice light. So look at that, guys. That is Babka knots. And in the individual size for your cafe, restaurant, food service business, for your family, friends, this would be a fantastic brunch idea. But isn't that a nice size? I think they're really cute. Anyway, all my folks in countries where babka is very common, I want to hear from you. You've got to let me know what you think about this recipe. Let me know in the comments, and I will catch you very soon. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, guys, and don't forget to check out our programs on biggastronomy.com for all of our online training programs. We'd love to hear from you. It's super interactive, and yeah, I will catch you guys soon, same time, same place. Oh, we have Anne's watching as well. Missed it again, I'll be back. Well, you can watch the replay, guys. So the replay will be up a little bit later, or if you go into the community page, you can just click on it straight away and watch it right now. All right, guys, I will see you soon. Bye.